Cool. All right. I dropped a link to the doc. I think everyone's got it, but as new folks join, we'll drop it some more, and feel free to keep adding stuff. But want to start with Matt's first topic.
Yeah. So yesterday I noticed that we have a latest tag for all of our images, but we're not updating it. So the example here is like the KPEC image builder. I think our most recent latest tag is from 2 months ago. So I just thought we should talk about this. It's a little surprising. I think none of us really ever deploy from latest. We usually build the image locally, or in the release, we package, I think, a log file, or we put it through kbuild, so this isn't a problem. But if you were to ever to check out a branch or a tag and try to deploy without building the images, it would be broken.
Yeah, this actually came up like a month or two ago. I was whining about it because I actually use latest, and I know like Danny and some other folks made some changes so that now like there is an image that's pushed for each merge domain, and you can use those. But I think we decided that we would update latest with a reference to like the actual like release. So like for 0.2, latest would point to that, and then when we went to 0.3, latest would point to that. And I'm wondering if maybe we just don't have that automation in place or something.
Yeah, we definitely haven't published up to date latest for when 0.2 went out, so that maybe that's just missing.
Yeah, because I would expect latest to be latest release as opposed to latest like commit, but it needs to be latest release, which means every time we click the button on the release pipeline, it should also update to latest. We should also push latest. Probably it's not doing it, or it's bugged. I don't know.
Why not just delete latest? Not here.
It's a convention. Pretty much everyone has it. I mean, I agree that it's probably not going to be used a lot, because if you use the releases, then the releases point to specific tags. And if you're building local copy, also you don't want latest, right? You want whatever we could call, like whatever we push for latest commit, which is not latest, but it could be called, I don't know, dev or something, which doesn't exist.
We're currently using def number of the upcoming release followed by the shout commit for those images.
But like it's not a tag that is tracking, right? It's a new tag every time.
Yeah.
All of the YAML files also point to latest by default, and we haven't changed that. So I think we want them to point to something valid, regardless of what the tag is.
But if we update, like fixing so that latest points to latest release wouldn't fix that. Because you're pointing to 0.2, but your code is way ahead of 0.2, if you see what I mean. So you're still, you would be deploying 0.2 every time, but using the YAMLs that are not from 0.2, which is potentially broken.
That's true.
So this is why, like, I made an explore for the distribution stuff, and as part of that, I specified that we should, as we solve this distribution issue, also come up with a better flow for deploying your local version, so that when you deploy local, it actually deploys images that are exactly built from the commit you're deploying. Either they're pre-built because we pre-build them anyway, or you build them locally with kbuild or something, but you should be pushing, like they should be built from the same commit you're pushing. So I think now we should fix latest because we should, but I think the YAMLs will be broken anyway. And I don't think there is an easy fix.
Yeah, we might also then need a note in the README to just explain the state of the images.
Yeah, maybe in the hacking file, tell people beware that, like if you deploy these YAMLs, you're deploying latest release images using not latest release YAMLs. So it's probably not going to work or be weird in who knows which ways. because the install instructions are about deploying the released tarball, so those are not affected, those are fine. But like for the hacking, local hacking kind of use case, then yeah, that is broken. And I guess we don't realize, because we build the images locally with kbuild and push them or sideload them in kind, and we never really use those images to get pushed to Docker.
Yeah, I only even noticed it because we've added the new image to the repo with the job task runner. So yeah, I guess it's not, what I'm hearing is I should make maybe a chore or a feature to update the hacking file and also figure out how to publish latest whenever we cut a release.
Yeah, those are at least 2 chores. Yeah, and then I remember we even tried to get rid of those images pushed every commit to main, but then we realized that we actually needed them in some cases, and we brought them back. So once we have them, maybe it would be nice to have like an easy way for people to deploy local, like unless you've just committed, there should be an image for the commit you've checked out, right? Because CI does that at every commit. So maybe it would be nice to use those so that people don't have to rebuild for nothing if they're already built and available in Docker Hub. But it's weird because you also want to support the use case of people who've just committed something and want to run it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think you mentioned kbuild. I'm wondering if they actually are identical, then they'd have the same digest, and maybe I'm not sure if Docker Hub would give them the same digest though, so it might not work out.
Which means like kbuild might be clever enough to say, oh, this is already built in Docker, I'm not going to do anything. Just use it. Otherwise, it's going to build and try to push it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you still might have to tell kbuild about the tag you expect for it to be able to do that though. But anyways,
I hope we figure this out as part of the distribution explore, because yeah, it's a gap that we have, right? It's something that is currently not has probably never been working, basically.
cool. I don't know, Matt, were you planning on making those chores or?
Yeah, I'll make those chores.
Okay, cool. All right, let's move on. Got a topic from Ram about the O2 release.
Yeah, I saw that release was cut. I was just wondering if we could do like a blog post based on the highlights of the release, some of the release notes, and some other information that folks are willing to share. This is intended to be published on the CFF blog. So if someone wants to volunteer themselves or volunteer another person, either ways, ping me on Slack or something and we can take it from there.
Is it about writing the post from scratch, or is it about like reviewing?
So if you can give me like a few notes, I'll draft the post myself, and then probably do like a quick review and publish it.
Okay.
So all I'm looking for is some notes. If you're a bit lazy to type those notes out, I'm happy to hop on a call.
We have the release notes, but I don't know if those are enough. So I do write down the release notes, but like, I don't know if those are the detailed
but
enough.
If there's a little more in terms of context and in terms of design decisions or something that would add some meat to the post itself, that would be good too.
Yeah, if you want to like start a Google Doc or something and share it on Slack, I'm sure me and others here would be happy to like start filling that out with you too.
Yeah, it would be nice as well. Like just do it via Google Docs because it's super nice to collaborate on.
Got it. I'll do that. Thanks.
All right, cool. Let's move on to the next one. A draft of a handout for KubeCon.
Yes. So Chris and I are going to be standing at a booth for all 3 days of KubeCon. So by way of a little background, the Cloud Foundry Foundation is a silver sponsor at KubeCon. So we have a booth that needs to be staffed. And one of the 2 projects that are going to be like a big feature there is Korifi, and the other is Paketo. We are going this route because we feel that it's going to be the most relevant project that the Cloud Foundry Foundation has for folks that are, expected to come to KubeCon and they want to hear stuff about Kubernetes, obviously. So one of the things that we are preparing is a handout about Korifi, and this is intended to be like a single page handout, so like 2 sides of a page. So I came up with like a draft for what could go on that, what doesn't repeat things from our website, and just some important things to highlight about the features of the project. So I made a draft of that, and I think people can access it because I see like a few anonymous animals there. But the idea is if folks can take a look at this, cough up some ideas about, if there's other things that we should represent instead, or if there's any changes that you'd like to see in the general draft in terms of content, copy, whatever, right? So open to all kinds of feedback. So we have a few weeks to get this ready, but the sooner we nail down the content and the sooner we get it out to visual designers, the better. So obviously you can tell from my amazing visual design skills that it's going to need a lot of help in terms of layout and other things. So if I could get some feedback on that doc, I'd really appreciate it.
Cool, thank you. And I see Eric pointed out in chat, could you give us comment access to this as well? Right now, everybody can view it and click, but can't comment or anything.
Yeah, I've updated the doc. Sorry about that.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. Great. So let's move on. Something from Chris, Cloud Foundry Day.
Yeah, so basically just sticking with KubeCon. Hopefully it won't just be Ram and I hanging out at that booth for 3 days. Hopefully some of you will join us there as well. We'll follow up about that too, and there'll be a sign-up sheet for times, and hopefully some of you can join us at the booth. But reminder that if you haven't registered for KubeCon, but you're coming, the price jumps up $300 on Thursday. So register today or tomorrow. So that's basically the big news about Cloud Foundry Day right now. Looking forward to it. And then next item, I wanted to chat with you briefly about potential training program for Korifi. It might be a little premature, but I was chatting with Steve Greenberg, who helps us with a lot of the LF Cloud Foundry training and certification stuff. And at some point, maybe later this year, maybe next year, we'll probably want to have some kind of offering. It might not be a full training course or something like that, but a smaller course or something that's just a tutorial training on Korifi. I don't exactly know whether the target audience there would be operators or developers, but I figured it's about time to start a conversation about that. So yeah, I was hoping to maybe set up a call with a couple of you all. I don't think we need to have this discussion at the working group meeting, but with people who are interested, I'd like to set up a call with a few of you and Steve and Ram and I, and we can start talking about what that might look like sometime down the line. So.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wasn't expecting it, but yeah, makes sense, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a tutorial on the website or a proper like LF training module on Korifi. I think at some point we'll want to do one or both of those. So, sometime in the next month, maybe I'll set up a call. I'm not sure who amongst you wants to be involved with that, but I can reach out in the Slack channel. So I'll probably set that up sometime later this month.
Cool. Sounds good.
Great.
Unless there's any more for that one, I think we can move on to Giuseppe's topic.
Yeah, so I started a thread on Slack just to gauge opinions in person about this task cleaning up thing. So I had the story ready to be picked up about basically setting up the jobs that we create every time someone runs a task to be automatically deleted in a configurable range of time, which is in the order of seconds though. Like the setting isn't, the number is in seconds. So could be many seconds, but still seconds. And we were discussing this and it kind of occurred to me that maybe we don't need to do it. I created the story just because Irini did it and we kind of took for granted that it was needed. But then reasoning about it, and plus I've done some reading about garbage collection for some like leaking issues that have occurred recently. And it looks like pods do get garbage collected by Kubernetes automatically. There is a threshold value that can be configured at the cluster level. And if a pod is terminated, either succeeded or failed, it will be deleted by the time the threshold is reached. And which means we don't necessarily delete these pods ourselves. They just stick around until there's too many and then they'll be deleted automatically. And a pro of keeping them around is that currently our logging strategy is based on just fetching logs from the pods, which means if we carry on the strategy of deleting them after 5 seconds after completion, then basically, I mean, I don't think we exposed task logs yet, but like even if you want to look at those logs via kubectl or something, they'll be gone almost instantly after the task is terminated. And that's maybe not great because in like real world use cases, people almost always want to look at the output of their tasks just to make sure they went through fine or whatever. So I was thinking we kind of catch two birds with one stone. If we keep them around, we don't have to do the extra work to clean them up, and the logs will be available for as long as possible without impacting the cluster because, again, they get garbage collected. This is kind of assuming that garbage collection is cheap / almost free, but it might not be the case. So there might be an argument for we never want to reach garbage collection because at that point the garbage collector like will cause like performance stress to the cluster, and I don't know anything about this. So I've never seen a cluster garbage collecting. But I wanted to hear your opinions because it does sound like a good trade-off to me. On top of this, tasks themselves, which in turn own task workloads which own job, which own pods, those get deleted after 30 days. That's standard CF behavior, which means these things will not stick around forever. They just stick around for many days. And those 30 days, there've been arguments about shrinking that time span, but like default CF does 30 days. So yeah, discuss.
I posted this on Slack. One of my worries about relying on the garbage collector is just like, I think that would work perfectly fine if we knew we were the only thing running on the cluster, but it makes me worried about other things that are like using short-lived pods for things. Like if someone's using Tecton or something else on the cluster, I'm wondering if our task pods will like overwhelm that, and I don't know. I guess I'm wondering if there's like I fully understand like 5 seconds after completion is like way too soon, but I'm wondering if there's like a middle ground or something. Like even like a day, because I'm thinking in the case where there's not a ton of stuff running on the cluster, then people's task pods will just like build up for a long time, and when they look at a namespace, there'll just be a bunch of dead pods in there. That doesn't sound great either.
Yeah, I guess it will be a bit noisy. But like also, I don't know how many tasks people run, like in general.
Yeah, it's it varies widely from like none to like I've seen CF for VMs like users spawn one like every second, which I don't think our system will be able to support anyway. But I've been on like support issues where people that 30 days they ended up with like 1 million task rows in their database, and it like would bring cloud controllers to a halt. So like I think we can't really estimate or like how people are going to use it too well. So it might be worth putting some other guards in place there. I do know though that you're like, is it you're restricted like 200 or something? Is there a limit to the number
I
of
heard that
pods in a
number,
namespace?
but I don't know if that number is the threshold, because the docs mention a threshold which will trigger garbage collection. But I would, if 200 is the number that will basically cause the node to stop accepting pods, then I would hope that the threshold is a bit earlier than that, so that you never saturate the node. But I don't know, and I guess that number could also vary a lot from cluster to cluster. I don't know if it's a hard limit. I have heard the number of like 200 or 200 and something as like a kind of generally accepted limit of pods per node. But yeah, I see that also, like if you have other things in your cluster that are like tasky in nature, like one of pods, and those also keep them around relying on garbage collection, then you might reach that threshold relatively soon. And then I don't know how it decides which pods to delete when it's time. Like there's probably some weird heuristic, which means, yeah, we might be the cause of other pods being deleted actually by garbage collection, right? If by luck our pods get kept and other pods get deleted. But again, if you don't want that to happen, I don't even know if you can prevent that actually.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, that might be a bit annoying. But no one should rely on those pods sticking around though. Like once it's terminated, you should kind of assume it's dead. And we do. It's just if they stick around for as long as possible, it's nice for logs. That's all. But maybe deleting them after, I don't know, 12 hours is good enough, because like your interest in those logs, it probably drops dramatically. Like after, like you need them, definitely need them as soon as the thing has run, or while it's running even. But then as soon as it's terminated, your interest for looking at them is probably a lot lower, and it probably converges to zero very quickly. So maybe just a few hours is enough, or even, I don't know, minutes. I don't know.
Like I think like hours is reasonable, or even like a day or something. It's like, because log cache isn't like infinite. It's bound by how much RAM you can give for keeping those logs around. So I think in CF in a busy environment, they generally fall off after a day or two or so. But
okay, so what I'm hearing is it might be wise to still implement the behavior. Just don't do like Korifi, because 5 seconds is extreme and kind of makes logs completely useless, but maybe default to, I don't know, an hour or 2 or 12. And then people can, and make it configurable so that people can change it.
It still feels really fragile though, relying on pods for logs. I mean, in the app case, if you got something that's restarting, you can access the previous pods logs and the current ones. And if it's gone and restarted twice in a second, that's your log history now.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think there's like work we can do with documentation here and stuff, but like our log strategy right now is like we want to support logs that you can stream out during push or like type CF logs and see them. But if people want durable like log support, they should inject like a fluent bit sidecar or something and send them elsewhere. I otherwise like
Just a
the
shame that won't be integrated in the CF log command though, isn't it?
yeah, but barring like the log cache support in CF for Kates was never robust. Like that was broken on its own. So like barring like significant investment into getting all that working, like I don't think there is a good solution versus like I also don't think people really in practice rely on CF logs like returning a ton of logs versus sending them like somewhere better. So like even on like CF for VMs, like people like will set up like syslog drains and everything to send their logs to somewhere.
Yeah, because Logator has that feature, right? You can.
Yeah, and the Kubernetes like analog would be an agent that would send them somewhere.
So something like FluentD, that kind of stuff.
So like I imagine we could like teach people like, hey, you could like set up like a injection webhook or something to throw those on, but trying to rebuild the like CF logging infrastructure doesn't sound like a viable like thing to do. Yeah, like some of the problems with it in CF for Kates were I know they never got it working in like a not just HJ, but normally it runs like as a clustered setup, and the log caches can kind of like like shard logs and replicate them across each other, and they never got that working. So they just had like basically a single thing that would store logs in memory until it ran out and then would crash or whatever.
Or drop stuff on the floor.
Yeah, like ideally it would drop stuff on the floor, but it was like operationally not perfect. So that's kind of like none of us, and that was with people that had Loggergator and logging expertise like working on it, and like I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we could, if we really wanted to do this properly, I guess we could think of some sort of to think of a similar pattern to what we've done so far for concurrent implementations. So we could have a, I don't know, generic interface for logs, which by default it does what we're doing now. And then I don't know, someone can implement a FluentD backed implementation. I don't know how that would look like at all, but
That's
if
fair.
we really want to be sophisticated, and like maybe that could allow you to integrate even like these very powerful setups still would and they would still work with CF logs. But yeah, it's probably not the highest priority. Like if you have FluentD working, you probably have a way of looking at those logs. And yeah, it would be nice to have CF logs. But
yeah, but I like what you said. Like it goes along with like what Kieran was advocating for like earlier with the interface being like a log source or something address, so that the shim will be like, however these get there, we will try to read from that. But
yeah, we'd still have to implement. I mean, with the default behavior is already there, we'll have to extract it, I guess. And then if someone really wants FluentD to be integrated, they could implement an equivalent for FluentD or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
and that's really wanting it to be integrated with the CF logs command versus if just throwing the sidecars on and having them send it to Splunk or wherever you want them to go.
Okay. Okay, so I'll bring back that story. Think of a sensible default. I don't know. How many seconds is 12 hours? What? 43,200, in case you wanted to know.
Cool. All right, then. Yeah, I think we're at the bottom. Feel free to add more stuff. Otherwise, I don't know. I think we can call this. Cool. I see some waving. All right. See y'all in 2 weeks, I guess.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.